Captain James Mitchell watched the alien ships through the main screen of his vessel, the UES Harmony. Two massive fleets floated in space, their weapons pointed at each other like angry animals ready to fight. Between them sat his small human ship, looking tiny compared to the giant warships around them. "Sir, both fleets are asking for us to help them solve this problem," said Lieutenant Emma Watson from her seat at the communications panel. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as messages came in from both sides. James nodded and looked at the display showing the two alien races. The Thorians had blue skin and 4 arms, while the Valkyrie looked like giant insects with shiny green shells. They had been fighting over a small planet for 3 months now, and neither side wanted to give up. "Tell both fleets we will meet with their leaders in 1 hour," James said. He turned to Dr. Robert Hayes, who was already gathering his papers and electronic tablets. "Ready for another day of keeping the peace, Doctor?" Robert smiled, though he looked tired. "Always ready, Captain. Though I must say, this is our 5th major conflict this month alone." This was normal life for humans in space. Ever since Earth had joined the big group of alien worlds called the Galactic Confederation 15 years ago, humans had become the go-to species for solving problems. When two alien races could not agree on something, they called for humans. When trade deals went wrong, humans fixed them. When old enemies wanted to make peace, humans showed them how. James remembered when he first learned about this role. He had been a young officer then, excited to explore space and meet new alien friends. His first mission was to help 2 bird-like aliens stop fighting over fishing rights on a water planet. It took him 3 weeks, but he managed to get both sides to share the planet fairly. The alien leaders were so happy that they sent thank you messages to Earth for months afterward. Now, years later, James had helped solve hundreds of such problems. His ship carried not weapons of war, but rooms for meetings, computers full of legal documents, and translation machines that could speak in over 2,000 alien languages. The Harmony was built for making peace, not fighting battles. "Captain, the shuttle is ready to take you and Dr. Hayes to the meeting station," called out pilot Sarah Johnson from the flight controls. The meeting station was a small space building that floated exactly halfway between the two fleets. It was painted white and had the symbols of peace from many different worlds painted on its sides. Inside were round tables, comfortable chairs, and machines that could make food that any alien race could eat safely. As James walked through the station's halls, he passed pictures on the walls showing successful peace meetings from the past. There was the Great Trade Agreement of Rigel 7, where humans helped 12 different alien races create fair business rules. There was the Border Peace of the Outer Rim, where humans convinced 2 ancient enemy races to become friends after a war that had lasted 300 years. The meeting room was already full when James and Robert arrived. On one side sat 3 Thorian leaders, their blue skin darker than usual, which meant they were angry. On the other side were 2 Valkyrie representatives, their green shells clicking nervously as they moved. "Welcome, friends," James said in the calm, friendly voice that humans were known for throughout the galaxy. "We are here to help you find a solution that works for everyone." The Thorian leader, whose name was Commander THYSS, spoke first. His voice was deep and rough. "The planet Kepler 442b belongs to our people by ancient law. We have old maps that prove our ancestors lived there first." The Valkyrie representative, called Speaker Zix, made angry clicking sounds. "Those maps are fake. Our egg-laying grounds were on that planet for thousands of years before the Thorians ever saw it." James listened carefully as both sides explained their claims. The planet was perfect for both races, it had the right temperature, good soil, and clean water. Both aliens needed it for their growing populations. But the planet was only big enough for one group to live there comfortably. For the next 6 hours, James and Robert worked their magic. They asked questions, listened to complaints, and slowly helped both sides understand each other's needs. They suggested sharing the planet by seasons, with each race using it when the other did not need it. They proposed trade agreements where one race could use the planet while giving the other race valuable metals from their home worlds. By the end of the day, both alien leaders were shaking hands, or in the Valkyrie's case, touching shells together in their version of a handshake. They had agreed to split the planet into 2 parts, with a shared zone in the middle for trading and cultural exchange. Once again, the humans saved the day, Commander THYSS said, his blue skin now lighter, showing he was happy. "Your people have a gift for finding solutions where others see only problems." Speaker Zix clicked in agreement. "The galaxy is lucky to have humans as peacekeepers. You never choose sides, and you always find the fair answer." As James returned to his ship, he felt proud of another job well done. This was what humans did best in space. They brought peace where there was conflict, understanding where there was confusion, and friendship where there was hate. What James did not know was that not all aliens saw human peacekeeping as a good thing. In the dark corners of space stations and the private meetings of powerful alien leaders, some whispered that humans were too soft, too willing to compromise. They saw human kindness as weakness, human patience as fear. These aliens would soon learn how wrong they were. Admiral William Carter sat in his command chair, staring at the emergency message that had just arrived. The red warning lights on his ship's bridge made everything look like it was covered in blood. His hands shook slightly as he read the words on the screen for the third time. Colony 7, completely destroyed, no survivors found. Lieutenant Commander Helen Brooks walked up to him with a data pad in her hands. Her face was pale, and she looked like she might be sick. "Sir, we have confirmed the attack details. Zephyrian Empire weapons were used. The colony had 2,000 people living there, including 400 children." Carter closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Colony 7 had been a farming world where human families grew food to send to other planets. The people there had never owned weapons or soldiers. They were just farmers, teachers, doctors, and children living peaceful lives. "This makes it the 5th attack in 6 months, Helen continued. "Each time, the Zephyrians say they were doing military training in space that they claim belongs to them." Carter remembered the other attacks. Colony 3, where Captain David Turner's brother had died along with 800 others. Research Station Alpha, where scientists studying plant growth were killed while working in their laboratories. The passenger ship Morning Star, destroyed while carrying families to visit relatives on other worlds. Each time, the humans had done what they always did. They asked the Galactic Confederation for help. They requested meetings with alien leaders. They tried to solve the problem with words and laws instead of weapons. And each time, the aliens in the Confederation had said no. "Sir, we're getting a message from Earth Command," called out Communications Officer Tom Wilson. "They want you to request another emergency meeting with the Galactic Council." Carter stood up slowly. He was 55 years old and had spent 30 years of his life helping aliens solve their problems. He had prevented wars, saved millions of lives, and brought peace to dozens of worlds. Now he had to go beg those same aliens to protect human children. The journey to the Confederation Council building took 2 days. The building was enormous, built on a space station that was bigger than most cities. Inside, representatives from nearly 900 different alien species made decisions about peace and war across the galaxy. Captain David Turner stood beside Carter as they walked into the main meeting hall. David's eyes were red from crying over his brother's death, but his voice stayed steady as he spoke to the alien council members. "Honorable representatives," David began, using the polite words that humans always used when talking to aliens. "We come before you once again to ask for protection. Our people are being murdered by the Zephyrian Empire. Our children are dying." He showed pictures of the destroyed colonies on the big screens around the room. Images of burned homes, destroyed schools, and empty playgrounds where children would never play again. "We are not asking you to fight our battles," David continued. "We only ask that you tell the Zephyrians to stop killing innocent people. Surely the Confederation cannot allow this to continue." Councillor Vex from the Altarian Republic stood up. He was tall and thin, with grey skin and cold yellow eyes. "The Zephyrian Empire operates within its sovereign rights," he said in a bored voice. "Human expansion into disputed space carries natural risks. Perhaps humans should choose their colony locations more carefully." Other alien representatives nodded in agreement. Some of them looked at their electronic devices instead of paying attention. A few seemed to be sleeping. "But these are not soldiers being killed," Carter said, his voice getting louder. "These are families. Children. People who have never hurt anyone." Councillor Zara from the Centauran Union laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humans are always so emotional about these things. Death is a part of life in space. The strong survive, and the weak do not." The vote came quickly. 847 aliens voted against helping humans. Only 12 voted to help. 34 did not vote at all. Carter and David returned to their ship in silence. As they traveled back to human space, more bad news arrived. The Zephyrians had attacked 2 more human ships, killing 300 more people. Then came the message that changed everything. "Admiral," called Tom Wilson, his voice breaking with emotion. "New Geneva, sir, New Geneva is gone." Carter felt his heart stop. New Geneva was humanity's most successful colony world. 300,000 people lived there in beautiful cities surrounded by green parks and clean lakes. Children went to school there, families lived in happy homes, and artists created beautiful paintings and music. Gone? Carter whispered. What do you mean, gone? The Zephyrians, they used nuclear weapons, sir. They destroyed the whole planet. Every city, every town, every farm. There's nothing left but dust and radiation. Carter stared out the window of his ship at the stars. Somewhere out there, 300,000 human beings had been turned to ash in a few minutes. Mothers, fathers, grandparents, babies, teachers, doctors, artists, and dreamers, all dead because aliens thought humans were too weak to fight back. Commander Mary Collins, his second-in-command, stood quietly beside him. After 10 minutes of silence, she finally asked, "Sir, what are your orders?" Carter turned to look at her. Mary had served with him for 15 years. She had seen him solve countless problems with patience and kindness. She had watched him turn enemies into friends and bring peace to angry worlds. Now she saw something in his eyes that had never been there before. The endless patience was gone. The automatic kindness had disappeared. For the first time in human space exploration history, an admiral looked truly angry. "Send a message to all human diplomatic missions," Carter said quietly. "Tell them to pack up and come home. All of them. Every single human peacekeeper, mediator, and negotiator. Bring them all back to Earth." "And then, sir?" Carter's voice was cold as space itself. "Then we stop being nice." Director Thomas Anderson sat deep underground beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by glowing screens that showed maps of the entire galaxy. The room was quiet except for the soft humming of computers and the occasional beep of incoming messages. Above him, normal life continued on Earth's surface, but down here, humanity was planning something that would change everything. "Show me the Krellin sector," Thomas said to his computer. The giant screen in front of him lit up with a detailed map of star systems where the Krellin people lived. For 3 years, human diplomats had worked day and night to stop a terrible civil war in this region. They had saved millions of lives by helping angry groups make peace with each other. Lieutenant General Patricia Lewis stood beside him, reading from her electronic tablet. "The Krellins have become very comfortable with peace, sir. They have reduced their military spending by 40% since our people helped them sign the peace treaty. They believe the fighting will never start again." Thomas nodded and made notes on his tablet. "Mark them as Category 2, former clients who voted against helping us when we needed them." This was happening all across human space. Every favor that humans had ever done for alien races was being remembered and recorded. Every war they had stopped, every peace treaty they had written, every life they had saved, all of it was being put into giant computer databases. But humans were not just making lists. They were also making changes to everything they had built in space. Captain Michael Foster ran the Human Logistics Center on Mars, a huge complex of buildings where humans organized trade routes and shipping lanes for hundreds of alien worlds. For 8 years, his people had made sure that alien cargo ships could travel safely through dangerous parts of space. They had protected trade convoys from pirates and helped alien businesses make money. "Sir, we're ready to implement the new protocols," reported his assistant, Major Lisa Thompson. "All the shipping route data has been copied to secure servers. When you give the order, we can shut down all protection services immediately." Michael looked at the screens showing thousands of cargo ships moving through space, all depending on human help to stay safe. "How long before the pirates notice that our patrol ships are gone?" "Intelligence estimates about 2 weeks, sir. After that, the main trade routes will become very dangerous very quickly." On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Dr. Elizabeth Shaw was having a very different kind of meeting. Before the attacks on human colonies, she had been humanity's chief scientist for studying alien biology. Her job was to learn about how alien bodies worked so that human doctors could help them when they got sick or injured. Now her knowledge was being used for something else entirely. "We spent 15 years learning everything about their weaknesses," she told her team of researchers. "We know which gases are poisonous to Zephyrians but harmless to humans. We know that Altarian nervous systems shut down at certain sound frequencies. We know that Centauran shell armor has weak spots that their own people don't even know about." Her assistant, Dr. Mark Williams, looked uncomfortable. "Dr. Shaw, are we really going to use medical knowledge to hurt people?" Elizabeth stared at him with cold eyes. "Dr. Williams, they used military knowledge to kill our children. 300,000 innocent people on New Geneva are dead. If they want to play by those rules, then we will play by those rules." Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, something amazing was happening. Mining stations that had been peacefully extracting metals and ice were being converted into weapons factories. The same machines that had built space stations and farming equipment were now building very different things. Engineer Robert Clark watched as giant robot arms assembled what looked like normal cargo containers. But these containers were not meant to carry food or medical supplies. They were designed to carry something much more dangerous. The beauty of it, Robert explained to his team, is that they look exactly like the emergency supply containers we've been sending to alien worlds for years. Same size, same shape, same identification codes. No one will suspect anything until it's too late. Factory manager Jennifer Adams nodded as she reviewed the production schedules. We can have 5,000 units ready in 6 months, sir. Each one programmed with targeting data for specific alien military installations. The most secret work was happening on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Here, human scientists were taking all the technology they had learned from helping alien races and turning it into weapons. Energy shields that had protected alien cities were being redesigned to destroy them. Communication systems that had brought alien families together were being modified to confuse and blind enemy fleets. Colonel Benjamin Wright supervised the most sensitive project of all. We're calling it Operation Gift Box, he told his staff. Every alien race that voted against helping us will receive presents from their old enemies. We're going to give weapons and technology to every group that has ever wanted to fight them. His intelligence officer, Major Susan Davis, showed him a list on her computer screen. Sir, we have identified rebel groups, freedom fighters, and independence movements on over 200 worlds. Most of them have been waiting for years to get weapons powerful enough to challenge their governments. And now they'll have them, Benjamin said with a smile that was not friendly. Human-made weapons, designed specifically to overcome the defenses of their oppressors. The transformation took 18 months. During this time, the galaxy barely noticed that human diplomats had stopped working. Alien races assumed that humans were scared and hiding after the attacks on their colonies. They thought humanity had learned their place in the galaxy. They were very, very wrong. Thomas Anderson stood in his underground command center, looking at reports from across human space. Weapons were ready. Target lists were complete. Intelligence networks were in place. Humanity had spent decades learning how to build peace. Now they had learned something else entirely. All stations report ready, sir, announced his communications officer. Thomas nodded slowly. Good. Send the message to all human fleets. Operation Patience is officially over. It's time to show the galaxy what we've really been learning all these years. Admiral Richard Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Retribution, watching the emergency reports flood in from Terra Nova. The planet's main cities were burning, and desperate calls for help filled the communication channels. The Zephyrian Empire had made their biggest mistake yet. They had attacked humanity's second most important world, home to 50 million people. Sir, Terra Nova Defense Command is requesting immediate assistance, reported Communications Officer Janet Parker. Zephyrian fleets are bombing civilian targets across 3 continents. Richard looked at the tactical display showing Zephyrian warships circling Terra Nova like hungry wolves. They expected the same response humans had always given: diplomatic protests, calls for peaceful meetings, and requests for help from aliens who would never come. Instead, Richard picked up his communication device and sent a message that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. This is Admiral Stone to all Zephyrian forces. Diplomatic immunity is officially revoked. The gloves are coming off. The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace looked nothing like the peaceful exploration ships the galaxy knew. These vessels had been secretly modified over the past 18 months, incorporating weapons technology from every alien race that humans had ever helped. The same minds that had written peace treaties were now orchestrating destruction with terrifying precision. General Ann Morgan commanded the first attack wave from her ship, the UES Justice. For 2 years, her vessel had pretended to be a simple diplomatic transport, traveling freely through Zephyrian space while secretly mapping their military bases and studying their defenses. All ships, engage Pattern Alpha, and ordered. Make it clean, make it fast, make it complete. The Zephyrian commanders expected a normal space battle with big ships firing at each other across long distances. Instead, human ships appeared everywhere at once, using jump technology they had helped the Rigelians develop 5 years earlier. Zephyrian Battle Group 7 simply vanished in a series of precise explosions before they could even raise their shields. Captain David Turner, flying his fighter ship Vengeance, led a squadron directly toward the Zephyrian command vessel. His brother had died on Colony 3, and David had waited 18 months for this moment. "This is for everyone on New Geneva," David whispered as he fired weapons that used Altarian energy focusing crystals and Centauran targeting computers. The Zephyrian flagship broke apart like a toy. The battle for Terra Nova lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the entire Zephyrian attack fleet was destroyed, and not a single human ship had been seriously damaged. But Admiral Stone was just getting started. Phase 2 begins now, he announced to his fleet commanders. Target their home worlds. The war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans had spent 15 years learning about Zephyrian culture, psychology, and military tactics. They knew every strength, every weakness, and every fear. When human fleets reached Zephyrian space, they did not just attack, they systematically dismantled an entire civilization. Colonel Sarah Mitchell led the assault on Zephyr Prime, the Empire's capital world. Her ships used gravitational weapons based on technology humans had helped the Andromedans create for mining operations. The planet's 3 military moons were pulled out of orbit and crashed into each other, creating a spectacular light show that could be seen across the solar system. Zephyrian Command, this is Colonel Mitchell, she announced on all frequencies. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. After that, we begin targeting your cities the same way you targeted ours. The Zephyrian Emperor surrendered in 4 to 7 minutes. But humanity was far from finished. The real masterpiece of human planning was just beginning. Captain Jennifer Adams received very specific orders from Earth Command. Every alien species that voted against protecting human colonies gets a special delivery. It's time to give their enemies some presents. The operation was brilliant in its simplicity. For decades, humans had mediated conflicts between alien races, learning about ancient rivalries and suppressed rebellions. Now they used that knowledge to arm the right people with the right weapons. The Altarian Republic, which had blocked human requests for help 12 times, suddenly found their former slaves equipped with weapons that made their defense systems useless. Commander Lisa Roberts personally delivered advanced plasma rifles to the Altarian resistance movement, along with detailed plans of government buildings. These weapons are gifts from the human people, Lisa told the rebel leaders. Use them to take back what was stolen from you. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Vegan Confederacy watched in horror as their oppressed colonies received human-made ships and explosives. The Rigelian Trade Union discovered that their business rivals now owned factories capable of producing military equipment. Major Tom Wilson coordinated the distribution of weapons from a hidden base in the Outer Rim. His computers tracked every delivery, every battle, and every government that fell. Sir, we've armed rebel groups on 234 worlds. Conservative estimates suggest we've started 47 separate wars. The most devastating blow came to the trade routes that humans had protected for 15 years. Captain Michael Foster, now commanding a fleet of disguised attack ships, sent a simple message to the Galactic Commerce Authority: human protection services are no longer available. Within weeks, the space lanes that had been safe for over a decade became hunting grounds for pirates. Cargo ships that had traveled peacefully for years were suddenly attacked and robbed. The galactic economy, which depended on human logistics and security, began to collapse. Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, monitoring the chaos from her command center, watched as reports poured in from across the galaxy. The Centauran shipping lanes are completely blocked, she announced to her staff. The Andromedan trade routes have become so dangerous that most companies have stopped using them entirely. Admiral Stone looked at the strategic map showing wars burning across dozens of star systems. Every conflict was one that human diplomacy had previously prevented or contained. Every battle was being fought with weapons that humans had designed specifically to overcome alien defenses. How many active conflicts are we tracking now? Stone asked. 63 major wars and over 200 smaller rebellions, replied his intelligence officer. All of them conflicts that existed before human mediation froze them in place. Stone nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy was learning what happened when the peacekeepers stopped keeping peace. Admiral William Carter walked slowly through the empty halls of the Galactic Confederation Council building. 2 years ago, these corridors had been filled with representatives from 900 different alien species, all talking loudly about trade deals and territory disputes. Now, the building felt like a ghost town. Most of the alien races were too busy fighting wars to send anyone to diplomatic meetings. The few representatives who still came looked tired and scared. Their home worlds were burning, their economies were collapsing, and they finally understood what they had lost when they decided humans were not worth protecting. Carter entered the main council chamber, where only 200 aliens sat in seats that had once held 900. Many chairs were completely empty. Others had small signs that read "At War" or "Government Fallen," or simply "No Response." Councillor Vex of the Altarian Republic stood up to speak first. Carter remembered him well. Vex was the alien who had said that human deaths were just natural risks of space exploration. Now Vex looked very different. His gray skin was pale and thin, and his yellow eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Admiral Carter," Vex said, his voice shaking slightly, "on behalf of what remains of the Confederation, we formally request humanity's return to peacekeeping operations." Carter nodded politely, the same way human diplomats had always responded to alien requests. But now everyone in the room understood that human politeness was a choice, not a sign of weakness. "We appreciate your request, Counselor," Carter replied in the same calm voice humans had always used. "However, humanity requires certain assurances before we consider resuming our previous role." Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, now Secretary of Galactic Affairs, stepped forward with a data tablet in her hands. She had once been a scientist who studied alien biology to help them live healthier lives. Now she was the person who decided which alien civilizations would survive and which would not. "Our terms are simple and not negotiable," Elizabeth announced. "First, humanity receives full voting rights in all Confederation decisions, with veto power over military actions. Second, automatic protection protocols for all human colonies and ships. Third, formal recognition that human peacekeeping is a service we provide by choice, not an obligation we owe." Counselor Zara from the Centauran Union raised one of her forearms. Carter remembered her too. She had laughed when humans begged for help protecting their children. Now her people were fighting a civil war that had already destroyed half their worlds. "These terms seem harsh," Zara said carefully. "Surely we can negotiate something more reasonable." Carter smiled the same friendly smile that humans had always shown to aliens. But now that smile made everyone in the room feel cold. "Counselor Zara, do you remember what you said when we asked for help after the New Geneva massacre?" Carter asked. "You said that death was a natural part of life in space, and that the strong survive while the weak do not. We have simply been following your advice." The chamber fell completely silent. Every alien present remembered voting against human requests for protection. They remembered dismissing human casualties as unimportant. They remembered thinking that humans were too soft and weak to matter in the galaxy. Ambassador Margaret Thompson entered the chamber, wearing the blue uniform that marked her as head of human diplomatic services. She had once been captain of the peaceful ship Concord, spending her days helping aliens solve their problems with words instead of weapons. "The wars will end when you accept our terms," Margaret said simply. "Human mediation services will resume when we are satisfied that our people are safe. The choice, as always, is yours to make." Over the next 3 months, alien representatives came to Earth in small groups, each one desperate to make deals. The Rigelian Trade Union offered to give humans free passage through all their space routes. The Andromedan Federation promised to share their advanced technology. The surviving members of the Zephyrian Empire offered to pay money to human families who had lost people in the attacks. Captain David Turner, who had lost his brother in the early attacks, now served as Director of Alien Relations. He met with each group of visitors in the same conference rooms where humans had once begged aliens for help. "We are not interested in revenge," David told them. "We are interested in respect. For 15 years, we kept peace in this galaxy because we believed it was the right thing to do. You taught us that kindness without strength is meaningless." The first peace treaty was signed with the Krellin sector, where human diplomats had once stopped a terrible civil war. The Krellins agreed to all human terms without argument. They had learned what happened when humans stopped preventing wars. Slowly, other alien races followed. The fighting began to end as human peacekeepers returned to their work. Trade routes reopened under human protection. The galactic economy started to recover from 2 years of chaos and destruction. But everything was different now. When Ambassador Thompson walked into a negotiation room, alien representatives stood up straighter and spoke more carefully. They remembered that the humans offering to solve their problems were the same humans who had spent 2 years methodically destroying civilizations. When human ships arrived to escort alien cargo vessels, the alien captains said thank you and meant it. They had learned what space was like without human protection. When human scientists offered to share medical knowledge or farming techniques, alien leaders accepted gratefully instead of demanding more. They understood that human generosity was a gift that could be taken away. Admiral Carter stood in his office on Earth, looking out at the stars through his window. Reports on his desk showed that the galaxy was peaceful again. Wars had ended, trade was flowing, and alien races were working together to rebuild what had been destroyed. His assistant, Commander Mary Collins, brought him the daily summary. "Sir, all major conflicts have ceased. Galactic commerce is at 90% of pre-war levels. The Confederation Council has voted to accept all our terms unanimously. Carter nodded and picked up his pen to sign the final peace agreements. Good. Send a message to all human diplomatic missions. Normal operations may resume. The humans were nice again. But no one in the galaxy would ever forget what happened when they chose not to be.